Blog Talk Radio.
Following ingredients include a look behind the scenes. Cook uncovered until hot. Add grooves to taste.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl.
The accident was over a year ago. A second woman has been elected president. The 12th planet has been named in the solar system. The last wild polar bear has died. I slept through it all. I was here for my waking. He called it a beginning. He said it was good. I think he may have thought that anything I did was good.
Welcome to Transition Radio, live from Wilton Manors, Florida, with your host, Mark Angelo Cummings.
And your hostess, Jessica Lynn Cummings.
Show for trans folks, by trans folks, here to let your voice be heard. Well, good evening and welcome to Transition Radio. So glad you all were able to join us tonight. We look forward to bringing you great interviews week after week in our radio segment and our TV segment. Tonight, we have Anthony Johnson. He's a community advocate, a volunteer with a number of organizations, creator and organizer of an HIV social support group, and 18-year survivor of HIV. But before we bring him on, we want to thank our sponsor,
TheBreastFormStore.com. They have everything you could possibly need for your transgender or cross-dressing needs. Visit their website and tell them Mark and Jess from Transition Radio sent you.
Anthony quotes, "A few years ago, I was ready to end my life because of the health issues I was facing and the isolation I was dealing with. I have fought that, and I am now in the best health I have ever been, physically, emotionally, and spiritually."
One of the things I have done is to publicize my life, living with HIV, and the obstacles I have overcome through different local and national campaigns and media interviews. The reason for this is to reduce stigma associated with HIV/AIDS and help people understand that though this is now a manageable disease in many ways, there are still issues that many of us face.
We should not live in fear and shame for having a very human condition. I am also a full-time student earning a bachelor's degree in psychology and only have a few more weeks to go. I'm excited because I know that the next part of my journey will be just as amazing as the last. Now, welcome to our show, the amazing Anthony Johnson. Hey, Anthony, how you doing? Are you there?
Hello, how are you?
Hey, we're doing great, thank you.
All right, Anthony.
We pride ourselves in bringing the whole spectrum of the LGBTQA community, letting our voices be heard as a strong community that we are. And although there are still some ends that need to be tweaked, I believe that we're getting stronger and we are organizing as a group and letting our voices be heard. We want to thank you for being here tonight and sharing your story and letting the community know how much you have done for us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Definitely my pleasure.
So, Anthony,
Definitely my pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about the work you do as an advocate for the community as an HIV survivor.
Well, as an advocate, I've taken on the responsibility of helping individuals in my community that are in need of services and programs, regardless of who they are or their status. I am also an anti-stigma advocate for those living with HIV and AIDS. I personally feel that the more we as a community can speak about the disease, the less distance there is between us, and the healthier we will all be. I also want others to know that the disease does not define who we are and that we are capable of living a healthy, happy life.
And we personally know you, Anthony, and you're filled with life and vibrant. I've seen you on the dance floor, and you love life, and that's important. I think that's one of the things that has kept you alive and has kept you going and has given you the passion to do all that you do.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely keep doing what you do. And I know that you actually, you're probably just finished class because I keep up with you on Facebook, and I think it's all ended,
I have
right?
Tomorrow is my final day. On Thursday, Thursday I'll officially be a college graduate.
That is amazing.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I know that's not easy because I myself went to college 6 years, and it's difficult. People don't realize how hard it is when you're studying for finals, when you have projects to do. It's definitely a lot of hard work.
Most definitely.
You've done it.
Yeah.
You've done it, and that's great. And I remember when that news first came out in the early 80s, everyone was devastated and fearful. But times have changed since then, and having HIV is no longer a death sentence. As a survivor, can you explain to our listeners what have you been through?
Well, when I found out that I was HIV positive in 1995, the only reference I had was the few people I knew that died from complications from the disease. So, of course, my thought was that HIV equaled death. When I found out, I went to my stepmother's home for comfort, and she was comforting after the initial shock. But then I called my boyfriend at the time, who said thank you and just hung up the phone. Then I called my mother, who immediately hung up on me and never spoke to me again, which was difficult for me because I was a mama's boy growing up, so I really needed her comfort and didn't have that. And even though I've been writing her for most of the years following, I found out in 2009 she'd passed in 2007, so I never had that closure. That was really hard on me. The next day, after finding out I was positive, I went to work at an adult living facility I was working at, was called into the office because I wasn't really myself that day. I told my boss what happened. Shortly afterwards, I was told to leave, to never come back. I then went home to where my landlady, who was a coworker of mine, had my clothes in bags on the grass and told me straight out that no AIDS faggot would live there. At the time, I felt alone and afraid. I couldn't go back to my stepmother's house because she had already had my two sisters, my nephews, and a house full of people. So I ended up living on the streets for almost 6 months before finding help. So I went through a lot of stuff with that, and then kind of floundered through life. And then 8 years ago, I ended up developing multiple health issues all at one time. I developed Kaposi sarcoma, which is a form of cancer, MRSA, which is one of the worst, nastiest staph infections you can get, that ate away the flesh on my left leg. And then I had side effects medications that made me lose weight, and I went down to like 120, 125 pounds. So I felt and looked like death. I had lesions all over my body and just felt like a walking skeleton. So I became horribly depressed, reclusive, and that's when I almost took my life. And after realizing that I did not want to die, I wanted to live. I started working and make myself healthier physically, emotionally, and spiritually. After that, I began focusing on the community and the needs that presented themselves, and that's when I created my group Vault. I created an HIV social support calendar, and I started working and doing my advocacy.
What most people don't understand that, in a way, we all have a death sentence. We're all going to die one day, and we all could face all sorts of different diseases. I think the way we lead our lives, eat healthy, exercise, have a healthy attitude, because emotional health is very important, then you can be just about anything. And having a good support system in your life is very important because everyone needs love, everyone needs touch. I'm a healthcare provider. I'm a healthcare provider, and I deal with a lot of individuals. I also deal with a lot of HIV patients who have had problems, and they're HIV positive, but they thrive when you provide them love, when you provide them care, and I think that's probably one of the reasons that you have been such a great survivor. When you started loving yourself and you started finding a good support system, it changes everything around. And that's the main message that we have to send out there.
Yeah. Above all things, I mean, yes, you need your support system, but that support starts at home. It starts with yourself. You need to love yourself, respect yourself, care for yourself, and then others can do that as well. You know, you can invite others to participate in that, and it's amazing when you do have that available to you.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of all that, what was your regimen to keep you healthy, emotionally, physically, and spiritually?
Well, I haven't driven since I was really ill. I have problems with my leg, and I still get dizzy at times. So I walk and ride my bike everywhere, which is a good thing because it keeps me healthy, keeps my heart healthy. And I'm constant cardio. I don't, like I said, I don't work out either per se, but as you said, you've seen me dancing. I love to dance. It's one of my favorite things, and I dance wherever and whenever I can. And I think that just really keeps me physically in shape and spiritually in shape as well. And although I'm not a health nut, after being ill and realizing I only have one body and one life, I want to do things to take care of myself. So I was a smoker for 25 years, and I quit smoking. I started eating healthier. I cut out unnecessary toxins. Occasionally I still falter. I still fall off the wagon now and again. Once in a while I drink, or I love dark chocolate, and I love my coffee. But physically, I'm healthier now, like I said, than I've ever been in my life. When I began reaching out for help, like you were saying, I found that support I needed to become healthier emotionally and start volunteering and help the people in the community. I realized something that I always knew, that I was here to do that, to help others, to try to help them get to where I was at. That's where my heart was always been. So I found my joy and happiness in seeing that positive effect I could have, and it just fired up those passions. And one of the biggest things for me, I'm going back to the support part of it, is, for a long period of my life, I didn't have my birth family around me. So I had to create my family and my community, and it's a strong family. But over the last 5 years, I've reconnected with all of my birth family, so now I have this amazing support system that just blows my mind, and I am so grateful for that. With my spirituality, that itself has always existed. I'm not a religious person, but I find spirituality in the beauty around me, whether it be the places I see, whether it be I love to go to the Everglades and take photos. I love to go to the beach. I feel very comfortable there. I love animals. In fact, I have a little Shih Tzu poodle of my own. She's my child. And I love people, especially those who can overcome diversity. I find a lot of spirituality in people that can overcome those obstacles that might stop someone else. And I see them instead of being devastated by it, they thrive from it. I find a lot of spirituality in that.
There's a lot of healing in nature, and I think that's one of the things that human beings are lacking. They go to work, and they're under artificial lights. They are inside a building that usually are sick buildings because the filter system for the AC doesn't work correctly. So we fail to actually take in the oxygen that we need. We fail to have sunlight, which we need. So it's something that a lot... Go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes too, I think because we're so locked in these boxes that we get disconnected from our surroundings. We don't take the time to actually get out and see what's going on in our world. So that's why I love walking, because I can actually take the time to see the animals flying through the air. I can see the fish as they're swimming by in the creek that I walk by, or I can actually enjoy the fresh air.
Definitely. I love nature. Nature's very healing. And one of the things that I talk to a lot of my patients who have HIV in the beginning with all the meds that I think it was SAT or what was it, that first med that they started. Yes, that killed a lot of, and I've known a lot of individuals who stopped taking the medication and just went on a very healthy regimen, started getting very healthy.
Right.
And
that's the thing. I think a lot of the issues what we faced early. I mean, the disease itself was devastating. The disease itself can destroy your system, which allows other things to attack. But the medications just exacerbated the problem. And as time progresses, the medications get easier to deal with, but there's still toxins. So if your body's not healthy going into it, you're going to have difficulties. But if you don't have the right doctors helping you with it, you're going to have difficulties as well. So I think it's important to be educated on the medications and how your body acts to things.
Now I'm going to go into a little conspiracy theory here, and these are things that I've heard, because I've done a lot of research being a medical professional. Do you believe, and have you heard of this, that it was created in a laboratory and spread via vaccines in the AIDS population with some sort of excuse of testing some sort of, was it hepatitis vaccine? and all of a sudden,
right, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard some different theories, and I can't focus on that. I can't say yes or no because I don't necessarily believe it's a theory or a conspiracy. As time progresses, we look at history. History has a way of changing the world. It's done that with different illnesses through life. Through polio and all these other things. So I think it might be a natural progression. We don't know. I don't know. So I don't want to say either way. I don't necessarily agree with the promotion that it is, because I think that promotes negativity and encourages lack of education on the true issue that this is a disease, it's a current disease, regardless of whether it's created or not, but it needs to be dealt with. Physically, it needs to be dealt with.
Oh, definitely. And the stigma of AIDS has finally started to get lifted. Why do you think that is, and how do you feel there is more, and do you feel that there is more work to be done?
Well, yeah, there is more awareness of HIV and AIDS, and we've come a long way in many perspectives, but sadly, there's still a long way to go. Like I said, I'm very open with my status. I've been open with my status for a long time, and I've been in a number of anti-stigma campaigns, but that stigma I see still exists. It exists in the world, it exists in our country, it exists in our community, it exists from person to person. The stigma is debilitating. It diminishes the lives of those infected with the disease, and it restricts and limits those who may be infected from getting tested and services they need to help them live healthier and happier lives. And it also it's destructive to the reduction of the community and world viral loads. But like I said, I think the globe in general has been focusing more on the pandemic and has made great strides in some senses. But even with this, there's still so much more that needs to be done at ground level. For one, because I do participate with agencies and organizations, and I'm familiar with a lot of the agencies in the community. I think one of the issues we have is that they need to learn to work together and not battle for funding or accolades, because we're in this fight together, and it's how we're going to end it. I see a lot of these individual agencies pulling their clients and trying to get clients and trying to get the monies from whatever agency or organization providing it instead of collaborating. And after 30 years, the world is still afraid to talk about HIV and AIDS, and in some places, individuals that are infected are still treated as lepers or criminalized for having a human condition. So we need to stop penalizing individuals for making human mistakes and to start showing love, support, and compassion for one another.
Definitely, that's the main thing there. Love, support, compassion, and trying to find a cure, trying to find a way to stop this from spreading. And
Exactly. So, what got you involved in psychology, and what do you hope to accomplish once you get your degree?
Well, as I mentioned before, I've always known that I loved helping people. Although I was successful in helping the community and developing opportunities without my degree, I want to do it on a larger scale. I also wanted to get back into work since I've been on disability for the last 5 years, and I've had the desire to be part of the workforce again in a career rather than a job. Before I worked as a restaurant and was constantly working my tail off and felt disjointed and felt like I was part of anything. And now I actually have focus. I know who I am. I know what I want to do, and I love doing it. So I want to continue doing that. And like I said, hopefully I'll find something in the workforce in doing that. But above all this, I've always wanted to earn my degree. I want that paper on my wall and those initials behind my name. I don't want it to show off. That's not important to me. I want it because I know that it means that, and I'm going to cry a little bit here, that I'm not dying, that I'm actually living my life, that I was successful and able to do something I never thought I would even be alive to do. So that's the most important reason why. It's just because I can do it.
And let me ask you, how long does it take to get a degree in psychology?
Well, this time around it was 3.5 years, but I've been in school before. I tried going to school when I was working full time. It was impossible. I tried twice, and I couldn't focus on it. But as I said, I've been on disability, and rather than sitting here and wallowing in self-pity, I decided to use that time to benefit myself. and to use it in a way that could help propel me forward. So this time, like I said, it took 3.5 years to do. And then I considered going for my master's degree. I still got that thought in my head, but I'm not really focusing on that at the moment. It may be a possibility in the future. I don't know yet.
That's awesome, and that's a big accomplishment.
Definitely. And psychology is something that's very much needed. That human species are very broken, and they need a lot of healing, mental healing, as well as physical healing. What message do you have for other individuals living with HIV and for those who do not follow the guidelines of having safe sex?
For those infected, I just want them to realize that you're not now or ever alone. There are people who want to and will help you if you need it. And also understand that you're not the disease and should not be ashamed of having a very human condition. You are beautiful, worthy, and important to this world, and to never give up and love yourself. As far as safe sex, that's an interesting concept because there's no real safe sex, but it's understanding that it's safer sex, and that's imperative that each person takes responsibility for each other and do what it takes to make sure each other is safe and healthy, whether positive or negative. We're all at risk of illnesses due to STDs and STIs, sexually transmitted diseases or infections. So taking precautions is important. I encourage having open and healthy discussions with partners or significant other, and that safety be a major factor in it. I personally am dating a man right now who is HIV negative, and will do everything within my power to ensure that he stays that way. We have had and continue to have these conversations, and I believe that more than anything else, it has actually made us even closer. So I think that's a big thing. Is just we're a society that has a hard time discussing sex in a healthy way. We're good at discussing it in a negative way, but not in a healthy way. So I think if individuals learn how to do that, it might be better off in the long run. I know I sound a little bit like sex ed here, but
well, I mean, our parents growing up always instill in our heads that sex is bad, and it's always until you're old enough to have sex, and that trauma stays there within your mind your whole life. So sex is always a bad thing, but in reality, it's not. It's a beautiful thing.
It goes back to the stigma. There's stigma regarding sex, especially when it comes to sex that's quote unquote outside of the norm. So it's hard for people. We've been shamed all of our lives. The LGBT community has been shamed all of their lives for being different, and that includes that. So I think we have a hard time discussing it. So I think the more we learn to discuss it, not just the LGBT community, but the community as a whole, learn how to discuss it with our partners, or the people that we're spending that time with, I think we're all going to be healthier in the long run.
Definitely. Let me ask you, have you heard of this new pill called Truvada, I guess that's how it's pronounced, Truvada? It replaces a condom.
Well, it's Truvada. It's used as a prophylactic. I'm actually, Truvada is an HIV medication. I've been on Truvada for 4 years. I take Isentress, Insulin, and Truvada. So it's a combination medication. The problem with that is, yes, it can be taken by men or women, or men who are having sex, but it can be used in replacement of a condom. The problem with that is that they have to continue to take that every single day for the rest of their life until unless they're not having sex. It has to be taken constantly. They can't take it here and there, because what happens is the body becomes immune to the drug or resistant to the drug, and then it's no longer effective. There's also still that risk that even with Truvada, that it may not keep the virus from entering the system, so that they would still have to really use protection. I mean, it really would be recommended that they still use condoms.
Yeah, the reason I asked was I was reading about it the other day in one of the magazines, and I just figured I added to the interviews. You've heard of it.
Right. Well, there's some other issues with it too. Truvada is a wonderful thing. It's a medication that's keeping me healthy and happy and alive. But Truvada also has some complications with it, meaning that it's something that does not dissolve. It doesn't go through the liver well. So you have to keep monitoring the liver, make sure that you don't go into sepsis from it. I don't know if sepsis or what it's called, but that, and plus there's the cost. Truvada is one of the highest cost medications. So if they're willing to pay almost $1,000 a month, that's wonderful. But again, like I said, it's something that has to be taken all the time, so it might get costly in the end.
That's why I'm leery about pharmaceutical companies, and sometimes I wonder if they create diseases to then come around with not even a cure, but just treatment and being a healthcare provider.
Right. I don't know. I don't know about creating an illness, but HIV and AIDS is a very, very profitable business, and that's the sad thing. It is profitable. It's more profitable to keep people sick than it is to keep them healthy. Let's keep them at a point where the disease is still existent, and they're healthy, but they have to continue taking the medication.
Exactly, and that's why I'm a little bit of skeptic about the whole concept with a lot of, not just AIDS, a lot of diseases that we see from diabetes, you name it. But
Right. Well, if you think about it, the United States is one of those countries too that we have one of the higher cost rates for medications here than other third world countries in those countries because of the way our laws are set up and our patents are set up that they can do that. They can charge however much they want, and there's also risk that I'm sorry?
Which is dead wrong what they're doing.
They used to have where you could go to Canada and get the medication for a lot cheaper, whatever medication you were on, but then the government shut that down and made it illegal to transport medication from Canada to the
pharmaceutical companies are
right.
But
So,
anyway, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add where the listeners could get in hold of you if they have any questions?
No, the only thing I want to add is, as I said before, is if anyone needs help with anything, regardless of your status, there are people out there to help you. There's people out there that will treat you with respect and do everything within their power. So don't be afraid to reach out. You have my number. If they need help, they can call me. There's other agencies, other services, other people out there that can help them. So just don't be afraid to reach out and get the help you need.
We're going to go ahead and give one, in our website, we provide our guests with their page, and we're going to connect the page with your Facebook page if people want to friend you.
Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Yes, thank you. Have a great seeing you on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you, and stay healthy and continue to do what you do and keep on dancing. You do it very well.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Anthony. You have a good night, Anthony.
Bye-bye. In the trans news tonight, we have a 6-year-old trans girl who was actually allowed her female identification card, and this is a landmark case. A trans girl in Argentina has been allowed a female identification card, and for her gender to be officially recognized was a landmark decision. Luana, previously known as Manuel, is 6 years old and identifies as female since she was able to speak. She never identified with the name Manuel, her parents said.
Preferring to be known as Lulu, she was granted the right by her under a law passed in Argentina last year. She received her amended birth certificate and ID card on Wednesday. Gabrielle, who is Lulu's mother, thanked the authorities in Buenos Aires because they trusted the identity of my daughter and because they respected her life.
Having become the first country in South America to allow gay couples to marry, Argentina last May passed a bill giving transgender citizens the right to have recognized in law. Hormone therapy and reassignment surgery have also become available by law for transgender citizens who are now able to change their officially recorded gender without prior medical or judicial approval, as in our country.
The gender identity law was approved by the Senate 55-0, with over a dozen absent senators and one abstention. Lulu's first application to officially change her gender on her ID was initially refused because of her age, but the Children, Youth, and Family Secretary overturned the decision, saying that she would be allowed to choose because of international human rights.
It is believed that the child is the youngest in the world to be granted official permission to determine his or her own gender identity. Well, folks, we're running out of time on our live feed. We want everyone to say we love you, but remember to always love yourself too. Stay tuned Thursday night for our show, And thank you so much for listening and being part of this great thing that we have going here, Transition Radio, the only large media source for the trans community, and also letting all of our voices in the LGBT community be heard. Good night, everyone, and thank you once again. Stay tuned for Thursday with Canada Chris, a member of the LGBT community who's very talented. You're going to enjoy the interview. Good night, and take care.